I'm making another album with the help of a large language model, because yesterday I tried out ChatGPT 4 for the first time. So I've been using the previous version of ChatGPT, ChatGPT 3.5, which I'm sure a lot of people have. And if you don't know what ChatGPT is, it's like a chat interface where you can ask questions of a large language model which has been trained on like pretty much all of the world, like everything on the internet up until September 2021. Now, there's various different problems like ethical concerns and things about this kind of thing, which I've talked about on a Podwalk episode, link in the show notes. So, if you're kind of annoyed about me doing this, have a listen to that first before you get annoyed with me. Okay, so, but I essentially have been, the purpose of this, the album podcast, is to talk about how I got ChatGPT 4. I basically realized something fairly important that I was missing in the making of this album, with the help of this large language model, ChatGPT. So if you don't know what ChatGPT is, it's basically you log in and you got like a chat window and you can ask this thing various different questions. And, a lot of people are using it as a Google-like thing. Other people are using it to write content. I'm not doing that. And, there's lots of different ways you can use it. But when I tried out GPT-4 yesterday for the first time, the first thing I asked it to do was to write some lyrics as a test to see how much better it was. And I'd done this with GPT-3. And what GPT-3 came up with was sort of fairly, it was kind of like the kind of song that a 10-year-old might write for the first time kind of thing. Whereas GPT-4, when I gave it just a few lines of one of my songs, it actually came up with something pretty good. I mean, I wouldn't just use it like that, but it was pretty amazing. So as soon as I saw that, I was like, okay, this is very interesting. What else can I do with it? How can I use this to help me think through? I just got this sense that I'm missing something with the making of this album. So I said to it, I've actually got the chat right here, hang on. And I'll just quote bits and pieces of it as we talk about this. Where are you? Where are you gone? Oh, there it is. So I said, can you pretend to be Socrates and use Socratic questioning to help me uncover some of the challenges some of the problems I'm facing with finishing this album. Where is it? Yeah, here it is. I'm currently making an album. I have a few problems I need to figure out and was wondering if you could pretend to be Socrates and help me work out what the problems are using Socratic questioning. And it said, absolutely, Socratic questioning is a great method to help you uncover the underlying problems and guide you towards finding solutions. I'll ask a series of questions, and based upon your responses, we'll try to identify the issues you're facing with your album. So this was the first question. That's what it came back with, and this is the first question it asked me. What stage are you currently at in the process of making your album, e.g. songwriting, composing, arranging, mixing, or mastering? So then I talked about that, and then it came back with a load of questions, and I asked it, could you just ask me one question at a time, please? So then it started asking me one question at a time. And here's the first one. Are you experiencing any challenges in maintaining a consistent sound, style, or theme across the album, given the varying degrees of completion for each song? Because I told it I was mixing some things and, doing kind of other things with other things. And that got me thinking. So I answered that question, I guess a little. This is what I said, it's more about style than theme, as I know what the purpose of the album is. I know the story arc and it's going to plan. I guess the only concern I have is around the sound and style. So then it says, can you describe the specific aspects of the sound and style that you're finding challenging? Anyway, this conversation went on back and forth, and it kept on asking me these questions based upon my answers. And for the first, I don't know, what it was coming back with was often things I tried. Let me just give you an example. Things that I was already doing. So here's for something I said. There's about 5 songs which have almost exactly the same instrumentation used in the same way. Recorded, live, improvised. Then there are 5 others which are made more in a DAW. I think I've been worried about this for a while and hoped it wouldn't be a problem. Now you're asking, I guess I realise that I've been avoiding the problem by pretending there isn't one. Then GPT-4 said, it's great that you're recognising this potential issue. Let's explore possible ways to address it. Have you considered applying similar processing, mixing techniques or sound design elements to both the live recorded and DAW-produced tracks to create a more cohesive sound across the album? For example, using similar reverb settings, EQ adjustments or compression settings on both types of tracks. And funnily enough, literally just last week, for the Make an Album with Mike people, what ChatGPT was suggesting I did was one of the exercises. It's called Your Unique Spaces. That is the whole point of it. So I was like, okay, great. So I was like, yes, I'm already doing that. It's one of the ways I've helped my coaching clients. Then it asked another question. Have you shared your work with any trusted peers, mentors, or collaborators who can provide feedback? Blah, blah, blah. And I said, I haven't, because I have a very particular opinion about feedback. Do you know what? That one, if you've listened to a previous album podcast called Feedback, that was literally the subject I was talking about there, which is pretty incredible. You got to understand, this is like a large language model. This isn't a person, right? So it said, all right, fair enough. Let's explore alternative ways to assess the cohesion of your album. Have you tried listening to your album as a whole from start to finish in different environments, like car, headphones, different rooms? And I said, yes, I tend to do that, but I try to avoid over listening. So then it said, okay, let's consider another approach. Can you identify any common elements, themes, or motifs present in both the live recorded and DAW-produced tracks? Focusing on and emphasizing these shared aspects might help create a more unified sound and style for your album, even if the production methods differ. So, as you can see, as I'm kind of saying, yes, I've tried that, or no, I'm not going to do that, it's kind of finding other things that I can think about, which is getting me to think differently. Okay, so we went on like this. But at this stage of the conversation, it was amazing, and it was very useful because it was allowing me to kind of think through things by getting it to ask me questions. It was allowing me to think through things and to be more clear about where the problems were. But it was, for me, giving me answers that I'd already considered largely. I was gaining more clarity by thinking it through in this way. But it was giving me answers I'd already considered. So at the end of this part of the conversation, I said, having thought this through, I do feel like I'm missing something. I can't quite put my finger on what it is, but it's like there's a problem we haven't yet got to. Like I'm looking through a window to the outside, but I can't see the window. So ChatGPT said back, I appreciate your honesty in expressing that you feel there might be still an underlying issue. Sometimes it takes a bit of introspection and reflection to identify those less obvious concerns. Let's try a different approach to help you explore this further. Think about how you feel. Remember, this is a large language model, right? Think about how you feel when you listen to your album as a whole, or when you're working on the individual tracks. Are there any specific emotions or thoughts that arise which could be signaling an issue that hasn't been addressed yet? For example, do you feel uncertain about a particular track's direction, or do you experience any creative blocks when working on certain elements of the album? Now, I picked up the robot on its use of the word creative blocks. You'll be glad to know. I said that right. But anyway, at that point, the penny dropped. I went, oh, I think I know what it is. It's that when I have been working on the DAW bass tracks, the ones that were started in a DAW and that I just sang over the top of to start with, and now I've kind of got the different parts, and now the back, the instrumental is sort of like in a classic DAW, and the voice is largely the live instrument. I've been making live electronic music exclusively that for about, I don't actually know how long, I don't want to work it out because it's too boring for you, but probably over 2 years now, probably longer than that. So over 2 years, possibly 3, I've been exclusively making electronic music, essentially without a DAW. I mean, I have used a DAW as a kind of tape machine, and I have been using plugins to play, but everything that I've been playing has been live. Yeah, whether it's with the Moog DFAM and all that kind of stuff, or playing the piano, or all that kind of, it's all been live. So it hasn't been in a DAW. And because during my Splurge challenge, I decided to use my old Music Machine stuff. A lot of that stuff was made in a DAW. I got the backing tracks, and then I sang over them so that I could focus on the vocals. Some of those tracks have made it, about half have made it, and I've got those parts, put them back in the DAW, and now I'm kind of got that stuff. And when I've been working on the music part of it, it's been like drawing things and it's like moving lines and blocks around. And it's just felt very, and I'm not saying it is unmusical, but it's felt to me very unmusical. It's almost like, it feels like, this doesn't, it kind of, there's something about it where I don't feel in touch with the music as much as when it's just been kind of improvised and me playing it like in the moment. And that, I think, is the thing that's been bothering me more than anything else. I mean, there's still a cohesion problem, but between the two types of tracks, the ones that I just improvised and the ones that the ones that were written in a DAW in the first instance, apart from the vocal. And so I realized that this was the thing that was bothering me. And then we went on to talk about different things that I could do. And again, it was obviously using the information and knowledge it had from information it had from the internet, where it was kind of giving me lots of different ways of making things more live. And it came up with various things. And I think at that point I ran out of time because it was me and my wife's wedding anniversary. so I ran out of time, and I need to kind of interact with it more to kind of come up with some more solutions which aren't quite so sort of kind of the kind of things you'd find in a Google search type stuff. But the absolutely amazing thing for me here is that I've sort of happened upon an application for this large language model, which I hadn't really thought about. Because obviously when you think about using AI and what AI might be able to do, it's things like, generate music, or, generate images, or, write blog posts and all that kind of stuff, instead of Google, that kind of thing. But this is a whole other thing. This is a way of using ChatGPT 4 or a large language model to get much clearer on a creative problem. And so I'm absolutely over the moon, because I'm not sure I would have actually noticed this problem so clearly. I mean, I certainly wouldn't have been so clear on what the actual problem is without having talked to, in scare quotes, this robot, talk to this large language model. I don't think I would have caught it so soon. And I'm so excited. I mean, I'm now going to incorporate it into the various different processes and methods that I employ already to get clear on what I'm doing. I mean, I already put in a free write on one of the tracks. So sometimes what I'll do is I will be listening to a track, direct listening to one of the tracks, and just free write whatever comes into my head as a result of what I'm hearing. So I'm not actually writing about the music. It's like I'm just kind of, it's inspiring me to write. Yeah. So I put one of those blocks of text into ChatGPT 4 and asked it to find themes and find different kind of threads and connections. And it came up with 3 different ones, which have kind of given me more clarity about the purpose. There's so much, I mean, and I only did this yesterday. I only started playing with this in this way. I mean, the first time I used ChatGPT 4 was yesterday. And it's just such a incredible tool. So the only problem, of course, is that now I have to find a way of solving this problem, which I haven't yet solved. Because so far, what I've got back from from ChatGPT 4, I kind of have considered, and it's not. Again, I've got that feeling that there's another way of doing it, which will make a lot more sense. But now, at least, I'm very confident that I'm going to be able to think through it with the help of my new robot friend. So with all that said, it's time for me to stop talking about making an album and start making one.